Good morning, good afternoon. Thank you for joining us for Racing Dude's live coverage of the Preakness Week. I'm Magic, joined with Aaron Halchman. Aaron, how you doing today? You excited about the Preakness?
I am, man. I'm very excited. Worked on the guide all night last night, a little bit this morning. A really, really good betting card we got. And, the Preakness is, it is what it is. Maybe if you can beat Epicenter, you're going to get paid. So it's great. I got kicked out of the office. That's the only bad thing. I'm outside today. I'm not even allowed in the house, but that's all right.
It looks like a terrible view, too. Yeah,
Yeah,
just sunshine
really
and nice
tough.
weather. You're in the shade there in a nice lounge chair. Yeah, I'm going to feel real bad for you here.
I feel good. Yeah, I'm fortunate that the weather is very nice here today, so it's good.
So, Aaron, we've got some updates to talk about for the Preakness, but also, if you follow the Racing Dudes Triple Crown Fantasy League, most teams are pretty dormant right now. The standings are almost set in stone, but we have the Preakness and the Belmont still to go. And with the Preakness in mind, Aaron, we've got a couple of claims that you wanted to talk about to update the folks real quick.
Yeah, so we're going to have a two-way shake, and we'll do that here in a second. Before we get to that one, Kelby Von Hemel has claimed Armagnac, so he will have Armagnac, and he has dropped Pinehurst. Now, Kelby and Jared also put in a claim for the Kenny McPeak-trained Creative Minister. So we're going to have a two-way shake for Creative Minister here. I'll go ahead and put up the random generator here. There it is. So very, very prestigious, very sophisticated look here at the random generator. So we're going to have a two-way shake. Like I said, for Creative Minister, Kelby and Jared, both involved. I'm going to hit this thing once just to show everybody that it will bring up two different numbers. So 1 and 2, we're going to have Kelby as the 1 and Jared as the 2. Do you approve?
Yeah, Jared's a piece of shit, so that works out.
All right. Kelby 1.
Love you, Jared.
Kelby 1, Jared 2. Here we go. I'm going to hit it. All right. Here we go. It is a
There
1.
you go.
So Kelby will get Creative Minister. That's right. Kelby has won the shake for Creative Minister. He's also dropping Forbidden Kingdom, a horse that obviously he was very high on at one time and now kind of off the trail. So Kelby gets two horses, Armagnac and Creative Minister, and will drop Pinehurst and Forbidden Kingdom. So there you go. There's the Fantasy League update for everyone.
Well, that's good. Let's talk about Creative Minister a little bit, because this is one of the new shooters that we have for the Preakness Stakes coming up, and we just saw him not that long ago. Aaron, he was racing at Churchill Downs on the undercard of the Kentucky Derby, so they saw what was going to be coming to the Preakness from the Derby, and they saw what he did on the track, and they said, "Yeah, we want to try and do that."
Yeah, exactly. And that's the thing about it. He ran so well in that race that it was pretty hard not to give a shot to him here, right? He runs very well around 2 turns. We've seen that improvement since he's moved to 2 turns. And I'll be honest, I was walking into Churchill Downs as he won this race. I had it on my phone. I was watching, and boom, there it was. He just galloped away. That wasn't too bad of a field. There were 2 or 3 prospects in there that they had been kind of high on. So I don't blame him for taking a shot, and I like that they are. And I think he earned it after that win at Churchill.
Well, a couple of different connections that are coming into this race that maybe we don't think have a shot to win, or at least not a short price. They seem to be saying that, look, a lot of the best 3-year-olds are not coming here from the Derby. So, oh, shoot, was it playing music? I'm sorry.
Yeah, I got muted it for you.
I hate when that happens.
Yeah.
There. Let's just mute YouTube. There we go.
There you go.
I always, because it doesn't pick up on my end here, so I didn't. I'm glad you caught that. Creative Minister, Happy Jack, even Doug O'Neill said, look, there's really not that many great 3-year-olds coming in, so why not take a shot? Something could happen, and everybody saw Rich Strike, so everybody's a believer. For better or for worse, everybody is a stronger believer now after Rich Strike, and I think that's good because you're seeing more horses than we were thinking. Maybe 6 or 7 for the Preakness, and 9 is better because it's a better betting option with horses like Creative Ministry you see here on screen.
Well, and when you get into these big races, everybody's going to find a way to try to play some of these horses. And it worked out for those people that did that in the Kentucky Derby. But a lot of times it'll work the opposite way, and these horses will take money just because they're in a big race, and then you get a better price on the horse that you like, whether that be Epicenter, Early Voting, Secret Oath, some of the more logical ones. Look, I've been on record of saying this for years on these shows and all leading up to the Derby. If I had one, and he qualified for the Kentucky Derby, there's no way I would skip that race. And I think Rich Strike kind of proved my point, right? It's a horse race. Put them in there, see what happens. If they've earned their shot, give them their shot. And if I've got a horse that can get into the Preakness and he's doing decent, and it, obviously Creative Minister looks like he's doing just fine, why would you not take a shot at it? There's no downside to it, in my opinion. This is why you own racehorses. This is why you, in my opinion anyway, why you have them, to run in big races. So I love that people are taking a shot here. And again, if he finished 8th in that allowance, that's one thing. But he
Right.
won, and he won easy, and he's won 2 in a row. So he's earned a shot here to give this a try. You know, whether you like him or not, well, that's up to you and your handicapping. But he looks better than a lot of horses in this spot.
If you want more thoughts on Creative Minister and Aaron's opinions of what this horse could possibly do, over at our YouTube channel, youtube.com/race news, which if you're watching us, it's live. That's how you're seeing us. But over there, we've got a video where Aaron talks about Creative Minister a little bit more in depth. So if you want, you can check that out. But we're doing that for all 9 Preakness horses. So we've got a few up right now. You can go check that out. I see the chat talking a little bit about early voting. We've got the footage from his work with Miles D, an older stakes horse from back on May 13th here. But early voting a horse coming into this, a lot of people thought could potentially wire. Where do you see his chances of going gate to wire in the Preakness?
Well, I like Chad Brown when he's pointed a horse towards a race and trained up towards the race and kind of circled it as, hey, here's what we're thinking all along for this horse. The workouts have been exceptionally strong for early voting coming into this race. It's funny how every move a Kentucky Derby contender makes is analyzed, and nobody talks about workouts this week for the Preakness. Well, early voting is working very well. He worked in company, like I said, on the screen here with Miles D, and watch him at the wire. He really kind of just gallops away without being asked much. I watched America's Day at the Races covering NYRA. I watch that show every day, and they had a interview Sunday, I believe, with Chad Brown, and he said, look, he's training great. we can't have him any better coming into the race. If he's good enough, he's going to have a great shot, but he's in great condition and we think he's going to run big. Well, that's what you want to hear, right? So yeah, the new shooter with the biggest chance without any question is early voting. And it's no surprise. The horse could have ran in the Kentucky Derby. He earned his way into that race and they skipped it to point to this. So clearly he's going to look better on paper than some of the horses that are new shooters that didn't really have any shot.
Look at that gallop.
Of getting in the Kentucky Derby.
You talked about it, Aaron. That gallop out, he just completely pulled away from Miles D, who was being scrubbed on before he disappeared. By the way, this work from last week on the 13th, you see on the screen, Chad Brown pulled Miles D out of the Pimlico Special because of that work. He said, you know what? That early voting, great. Miles D, not so much. We're not going to go to the Pimlico Special anymore. But the fact that you're working he's a son of Curlin. It's the wrong graphic on the screen. But Miles D is an older stakes-winning son of Curlin who we're thinking could have a big year. Hopefully he comes out of this work a little bit better and Chad straightens him out, because he's a fun horse. Love to see him take on like an Olympiad or Speaker's Corner a little bit later. The big talk right now, the filly Secret Oath for Dwayne Lucas. Is she going to be able to follow the footsteps of Swiss Skydiver, Rachel Alexandra, and beat the boys in the Preakness Stakes? We already saw her take on the boys once in the Arkansas Derby, and maybe with a better ride, but now she's upgraded Louis Saez since then. Maybe she could have won, or at least had a better showing in the Arkansas Derby. Your thoughts on Secret Oath in the Preakness, Aaron?
I think as we look at it now, if Louis Saez was on this horse, the Arkansas Derby, I don't think anybody's debating that she would have won, right? I mean, she just had a terrible trip in that race. But look, that being said, no, she's not Swiss Skydiver and she's not Rachel Alexandra. Let's not think that she is. And that is absolutely no knock on Secret Oath. Those two horses, their campaigns, how they held their form, how they ran in all the big races, truly a miracle. I mean, it was just a miraculous. Rachel Alexandra may have had the best campaign of any 3-year-old ever the year she won the Preakness. Now, go back to Secret Oath. Again, that's not a knock that she's not as good as these two Hall of Fame type horses. She's still very good. And you look at this race, I think Epicenter's a little better than Secret Oath. After that, you could make a huge case for Secret Oath. So if Epicenter gets involved in the pace a little bit and kind of comes back to her, if Epicenter just doesn't show off the 2-week break, I don't think that's the case. But if he doesn't, she has a huge chance to win this race. This is not a difficult race when you get past Epicenter. And by the way, Epicenter's never won a grade 1. And you know who the only grade 1 winner in this field is? The horse that's on the screen right now. It's Secret Oath. Now, she did it against the fillies, but still, she's a grade 1 winner and nobody else in this field is. So, I mean, you could disrespect her. I think she's going to get overbet. And from a better standpoint, that becomes a bit of a problem. But as far as a likelihood of winning the race, absolutely, she's got a shot.
Well, and if you're a fan of horse racing, you're not a bettor. I know some people who watch their
Yeah.
channel. You're here for the sport and the entertainment, and the betting you don't really care about, and that's great. Everybody has different reasons for loving it. Secret Oath is they're going to be for those fans, right? The fans that they only
Mhm.
put $5-10 on races when it's a Triple Crown. They're like, hey, I want to see the filly beat the boys. That'd be great. So you're going to see a lot of money go towards Secret Oath, but another feel-good story, kind of like Rich Strike with that big 80-1 bomb. So it wouldn't be completely shocking if she wins, especially this race, right, Aaron? I talked about Swiss Skydiver, Rachel Alexander, both in this
Yep.
century, in the last 13, 14 years, have won this race. Why do you think that is? Why is this race of the three? Well, I know why the Derby's hard, but why this or versus the Belmont or Phillies able to win this?
In general, this race produces the most normal results, the most normal winner. And it's really easy to explain when you think about it. And I know you know the answer, but just you ask the general question. There's 20 horses in the Kentucky Derby. We just saw almost anything can happen in that race. A lot of times the best horse doesn't win the Kentucky Derby. Okay, fast forward to the Belmont. Well, it's a mile and a half. Some horses just aren't going to ever be able to handle that. Rachel Alexandra probably couldn't have won the Belmont. I mean, we saw mile and 3/16 was her tip top, right? That's where she really didn't want to go any further than that. A mile and a half is its own challenge, and so that's why the Preakness, it's the most normal race of the three, and I think that's why they try to take a shot in races like this. Uh, and I think that's just the long and short of it. Really, it's just the most normal race of the three. You get a normal-ish distance, and you get a normal field size, and so I think that's why you've seen those horses have success. Also, the Swiss Guide every year is a lot later in the year as well,
Right.
and that makes a big difference as well.
Yeah, in normal years you can
Yeah.
make the argument that you've got the Derby boys being targeted. They're a little beat up, or maybe they're a little slower, or something like that. But regardless, a great story. We'll see what she's able to do. A couple other horses. Simplification exiting the Kentucky Derby. A really nice fourth when you think about what how he ran and how everything kind of finished for him. Very valiant effort from Simplification. But from a handicapping perspective, Aaron, we never know what Simplification we're going to get. Is he going to press? Is he going to take way back? What does he do here?
It's funny you mentioned the fan aspect of it, and obviously Secret Oath with the coach and the filly, and so rooting for that horse. You root for Epicenter to kind of get redemption. This horse has kind of started to pull on my heart a little bit. I love horses that just freaking show up every time, and that's what he does. He's a little horse. You see him on the picture here, or on the screen here, but he's just kind of cool. And who doesn't love a horse that can come from the back or set the pace? And it doesn't really matter. He runs about the same every time in the end. These finish positions are about the same. I don't really know what he'll do. I feel like he needs to be a happy medium of the two. I don't really want him on the lead. I don't want him in last. Can we sit in fourth and stalk the pace and kind of sit maybe where Epicenter sits and move with him and just try to out-gallop him home? I mean, to me, that's his best shot of winning. Your guess is as good as mine of what he actually is going to do. We saw it. He rocks in the gate, and when he rocks backwards and those gates open, he's left. And so that's kind of the luck of the draw, isn't it, Magic? It's just like, who knows?
Well, he is. I agree with you. He's been a fun one along the way that we maybe necessarily weren't, we weren't high on a little bit. We didn't know what to do with him. We still don't know what to do with him. But he reminds me a lot, and it fits because of the same trainer, Antonio Sano. Reminds me a lot of Gunnevera from 5 years ago. Gunnevera just kept showing up, and I think Simplification has better chances of winning these races than Gunnevera. Gunnevera was more of a grinder. He's always there, but a big classic race, it was hard for him to win. Though he did get second in a Breeders' Cup Classic. I remember being there for that.
They're very similar in their consistency, right? Like they are consistent runners, but they're very different in that Gunnevera was one-dimensional. This horse is multi-dimensional. Whatever you want him to do, he can do it. Now, you don't really know what he's going to do. It's not really he does what you ask him to do. He just does whatever he wants, but he's still super consistent. So he does remind you a lot of Gunnevera.
Marla K, hey, good to see you, Marla. No Unoho. Yeah, no Unoho. Still harboring that sore foot. Maybe they've got 3 more weeks right to the Belmont. Maybe they can get him back for that. He is one that I know we talked about the Arkansas circuit aside from Secret Oath not being that strong, but I do want to see Unoho come back because I think the Arkansas Derby, there's a legitimate case to be made for why he was so bad in that spot.
Yeah.
Let's see him give it one more shot. I mean, if he ends up failing in the Belmont, fine, but at least give him give him his dues. And then, yeah, we got the jockey change. Jose Ortiz is going to stay on early voting, so John Velasquez is going to jump aboard Simplification. I'm not too worried about it. They're both very talented. Velasquez in the Hall of Fame. Jose will be. They know what the hell they're doing aboard a horse. Are you that worried about the change?
No, I'm not. Okay, so a lot of times when a jockey jumps off, you go, "Oh, that's not a great sign." But this is Jose Ortiz riding for Chad Brown more than it is Jose Ortiz picking early voting over Simplification. I think when you look at the body of work, both these horses, they're pretty similar. And if a jockey was on one, all things being equal, he probably would just stay. He wouldn't jump. But the Chad Brown factor makes you jump off. And again, you pick up Johnny V. I mean, you can't be worried too much about that. I think he'll be fine.
Last horse that we could talk about a little bit, one that we mentioned, I brought up a couple of times yesterday on the live show, Skippylongstocking for Safi Joseph Jr. I don't know. I got a feeling here in this horse. I don't know that he wins, but I got a good feeling that he can hit the board at a really strong price. He's a new shooter. Yeah. He lost the Wood Memorial, wasn't even in the Derby. But he and Mo Donegal were the only two horses that really made up ground on early voting in the Wood Memorial. Mo Donegal, much better result, a much better trip there. But I don't know. Skippylongstocking to me might be coming up at the right time. Maybe he's catching kind of a weaker Preakness that you talked about outside of Epicenter and Secret Oath. You're really looking for a star. So I think he's got potential as good as anyone that's outside of the big three. What do you think?
Well, he sure catches the eye when you're just sitting there watching him on the screen. He looks like a really nice horse. Looks like a tall, leggy type of horse, a little bit thinner in the upper body. Listen to me talk about stuff, but
I'm like, damn, shit, this is next level, Aaron. All right.
Well, doesn't he kind of look like that?
No, he does. You don't say this. I love it.
Well, I don't know. I think I see these damn things so many times now for so many years, so many 365 days a year. I'm starting to notice things. But anyway, I'm no expert on that. I do think that I can tell about the running lines, and you're right. They're very sneaky running lines. And listen, this is a deal. You got to find one, right? You got to find one of these that are going to come up and hit the board. And yeah, I mean, I think he has just as good a shot. Well, I'll take that back. I think he has a better shot than most of the new shooters outside of early voting. I think it's kind of between him and Creative Minister of who you kind of want to get in the mix. Look at this horse on the screen. He looks awfully good right now. And like I said, his running lines are pretty solid. You just hope that they kind of come back to him a little bit and he can pass some tired horses and get third. That's how I look at him.
Yeah, I think realistically, that seems about a very realistic expectation. And I mean, if you can hit the board in the Preakness Stakes, hey, that's a nice check. But not many horses get a chance to do that, Aaron. So with these 3-year-old restricted races, or even with 2-year-olds, you get one shot. It's not like, hey, well, we'll bring him back next year for the Breeders' Cup Classic or next year for the the Whitney. Like, no, you got one try with these horses. And to your point, you brought it up earlier with Creative Minister. Like, if you've got a horse, you got a chance, take it. I remember with Tiz the Magician a couple of years ago thinking that he might have an outside chance to compete in a Triple Crown race, and then COVID and other maladies came up, and he didn't get to do it. But the thrill of potentially having that was exciting. So I totally understand throwing a horse in there, especially if you're a small time connection. Steve, a little late, but one more time for Steve before we get out of here, Aaron. Good to see you, Steve. Creative Minister to hit the try. Any thoughts?
Yeah, and again, and I'll throw Steve. I think so. I think Creative Minister is coming into the race obviously well. 2 weeks rest. I'm not real worried about it because he's lightly raced, and so I think he's coming in with a pretty good shot. I think he can hit the try, and kind of to keep answering Steve's, and also put Dennis's comment up. Dennis has taken a different approach. It looks like, and I don't want to put words in his mouth. With this comment, let's assume, and we'll play off of it. He says, hey, Happy Jack, that's the one I kind of want, is that horse that's a little bit on the outsider. So he's saying, give me that Derby also ran, where maybe you and I are kind of leaning towards, give me that new Preakness shooter that, didn't make the Derby, but might just be better than Happy Jack, and will close a little bit faster than Happy Jack. But again, it's the same kind of thought process. Okay, I've got my epicenters, and I've got, you basically have to pick epicenter, or you don't have to, but out of these 4, you got to pick 2 of them: Epicenter, Secret Oath, early voting, Simplification. And then you got to mix in a couple of, or maybe not even a couple, but one long shot. And that's how you create value in your exactas and your tries, right? There's a couple of these favorites that, even though you kind of acknowledge, hey, they're maybe the 3rd or 4th likely winner, I got to hope they don't run quite as well and we get a long shot in there. That's really the only way you can play an exacta or try, unless you're just going to take a giant shot against all these horses that are favorites and pick somebody like a Skippylongstocking to win. Then everything totally changes.
The Happy Jack talk I wanted to bring up, Dennis. I don't know if you noticed or not, but we're doing the Preakness contender videos breaking down each of their chances over racingnews.com on the YouTube channel. So I did Happy Jack for the Derby. I picked him back up for the Preakness. I was a little nicer this time, but Aaron, you did. I just have a Secret Oath and Creative Minister. I took Epicenter and Happy Jack, but the other guys are taking the other horses. But go check it out. We've got a lot of information talking about their chances. We're not mean about it. At least I haven't watched Jared's yet, so I can't say for sure if Jared.
I think we've learned our lesson.
Yes, I think you're going to notice that with our videos. And then also, sorry for the derp face, but I did a Preakness 5 myths video, and some of it talks about some betting facts. And Aaron, you brought up getting 1 or 2 price horses in for that trifecta and maybe outsiders. 26 of the last 32 Preakness Stakes had at least one outsider from away from the Derby that hit the try. So there's plenty of, I think 6 out of the 9 horses in this field qualify for that. So if you like price horses, even if you think it's a little chalky on top, throw them in underneath, man. Things could get real nutty and you can make some money even if Epicenter wins.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. I watched that video. I loved it. It was very, very, very good. So you're welcome. Yeah, I mean, that's the thing. We've definitely learned, well, even if you're not betting the horse, you might want to just say some nice things and move on because, it could come back to haunt you.
Curtis says he's been betting Creative Minister back since his debut. Hey, if you bet him since his debut, that's great. You should be up now.
Well, I'm sorry, but once again, if you really like Creative Minister, you need to bet him here because as the other Curtis says here, whoops, that's not the right one. He thinks this Preakness sucks. And we talked about this field is not the strongest. So yes, it's a grade 1. Yes, it's a Preakness. But if Creative Minister runs a solid race, he's right there, right? There's no monsters you got to beat in this race. I'm not seeing a Justify. I'm not even seeing an Authentic, So we'll see.
Yeah, Epicenter twice getting caught late at the wire. It's starting to be hard for me to be like, yeah, this is our big star, generational star this year. I don't need to see a little bit more from him.
Exactly.
This is Matt F. This is a great question. He's saying, can you really say that 2 of the big 4 won't hit the board? That's kind of what we're saying. This is a great topic, Aaron, for tomorrow's show. How about that? How about that tease? Tomorrow, we will come back and tell you for the trifecta, there'll be the big 4. We're going to tell you our 2 horses we think will not be in that one. So tune in tomorrow. We're going to wrap things up as a little bit of a slow day, but that's usually Tuesdays. In horse racing, a little slower. But we'll be back tomorrow, same time at noon Central. So, Shoddy, make sure you set your alarm. We'll be back here at youtube.com/racingdudes. Go to racingdudes.com. The pre-sale for the inside track to the Preakness Stakes wagering guide, that's happening right now. Aaron mentioned it. He was up late last night working on it, and it looks great. The live bankroll article, you're going to work on that today. That's part of the guide as well. So if you're not a premium member, make sure you become one or go purchase the guide. But if you're like Shoddy and you are a premium member, you get this for free. So as soon as it's available, you'll get an email. It'll be in your dashboard. You can go download it. Aaron, final thoughts before we get out of here, buddy.
Oh, I don't want to leave. I think we're having a lot of fun. You're wrapping up the show. No, I'm kidding. Yeah, it's great. I think I'm going to come out here more often. This is nice and peaceful out here.
Yeah,
I feel more relaxed. I feel way more relaxed out here. No, it's Tuesday before the Preakness. We're finishing up all the guide stuff. It should be out probably Thursday morning, I would say. The guys are all handicapping the card now. It's a good card. It's you don't have your great horses, your top tier horses, but it actually creates probably better betting races than having a Jackie's Warrior or having a Speak of the Devil, horses that just are dominant. So it's a different card from the Derby for sure, but it's a fun one. And let's just see. The horses are showing up at Pimlico. Let's see how they do. And I think everybody's kind of anxious to see how this thing unfolds.
I know I'm starting to get a little anxious too. It's like, okay, we got the fields drawn after that very long delay yesterday. It was a lot of fun. And here we go. We've got Preakness Stakes on Saturday. We'll be back tomorrow at noon. Thanks so much for joining. Before you leave, click like on the video, subscribe to the channel. We'll see you tomorrow.
This has been a presentation of racingdudes.com, your destination for all things horse racing and sports betting. Whether you want free winners, expert insider picks, up-to-the-minute trackside weather reports, or podcasts and videos for bettors of all skill levels, never make another wager without visiting the Racing Dudes. First,